everyone, and welcome to Conexión. I am your host, Rafael, aka the Latin Babbler. We have an amazing guest here today. He is the founder and the presidente of Es Tiempo LLC, founder of the Silicon Valley Latino Leadership Summit, and co-author of Building Latinos' Future Success Stories for the Next Generation and El Futuro Latino, and has a new book, Latinx Business Success. Frank Carbajal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rafael, and good morning and good afternoon and good evening to folks across the globe. I'm so excited to be here today. I am very excited, and I followed your show, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I want to talk to you because we've been, chatting on LinkedIn for quite some time. And, we've talked on representation. We talked on some other issues. And I had to get to know you. I wanted to get people to get to know you as far as what you're doing concerning your new book that's coming out. But first, let's go ahead and dab in a little bit into the history. So you're the son of migrant agricultural workers. Can you tell us a little bit about your Latino experience growing up?
Yes, definitely. And I always like to start off by saying that within my DNA, I'm made up of cabbage, onions, and spinach. Spinach just like Popeye. And I say that because my parents were migrant farm workers under the Bracero program, both immigrants from Mexico, and they came to the U.S. in the early 1960s. I'm the youngest of five. I was born in 1969, and I also like to say that I'm born with resiliency because my mom literally worked up until her third trimester. I was born on June 19th,
Wow.
1969. 1969, June 19th, my birthday is next weekend, and hopefully, if the Warriors don't clinch this Thursday, then it's on my birthday. Hey, June 19th. And, and for me, my mom, she worked up until June 13th in El Centro, in Imperial Valley, in that hot, blistering sun. So Oof. That's where resiliency lies within me.
Do you feel that their work ethic just kind of passed through you for everything that you do now?
Yes, most definitely. And I really remember my dad's wisdom. He also had a part-time job as a janitor. And so on weekends, he would take me to work with him. And I remember going into these executive offices and suites, and there was air conditioning. And my dad would say, this is why you need an education. You have this comfort of an AC where, they always worked out in the sun or in hot canneries and factories. And, that mindset really allowed me not only to think of the privilege that folks have, but never to take advantage of, conditions and people, and really have that humility factor within me because of my mom's and dad's grit and ganas, the two G's, the grit and the ganas.
The two G's, I like that.
Yeah, thank you. Two G's for the OG.
2Gs. Very cool. Very cool. So now you're the founder of Es Tiempo LLC. I got to first tackle the name because the name is amazing. So Es Tiempo, it literally means it's time. It's time. What made you come up with the name?
Like I say, our parents or our grandparents have the wisdom that surpasses any PhD or MD because of the experience that they've had in life. And so in the early 2000s, I shared with my dad, it's literally 2001, I shared with him that I wanted to write a book. And he says, pues mijo, ya es tiempo. And I said, oh, that's perfect. So
that's perfect.
Yes. So my book started, not only my book, but my business started as a sole proprietorship. And then when my book was published in 2008, my attorney created an LLC. So Es Tiempo LLC was born in 2008 with my first book, Building a Latino Future.
Very cool. So I know that Es Tiempo provides leadership development by bringing the Latino community together. Yes. Why did you feel that was such a huge need for the Latino community at this time?
Well, because in terms of leadership development and in terms of a summit, bringing thought leaders together, it really was created in 2009 based off of my book. My book, Building a Latino Future, created a platform that has positive messages for individuals to read about spectacular stories from humble beginnings to achieving greatness. But in 2009, Rafael, as everyone knows, there was a market shutdown, slowdown with
Yeah.
market crashing in areas, whether it was real estate and other areas in industries that really made us pivot. And so the pivot point for me was to reach out to an executive sponsor, an executive leader who's a dear friend of mine, Dick Gonzalez. He and I met over lunch, and he says, you know, you should think of having a leadership summit that would bring some of these leaders together that are in your book and providing messages to millennials firsthand for an all-day event. And I said, well, that's great, but who are some of my speakers? He's like, you already have the secret sauce, the secret salsa. You have the book, and you have folks that would be speakers for you, panelists. And he volunteered to be the first one. And after that, with his credibility, I approached other folks in my book. And the first leadership summit, the inaugural summit, was in 2010 on Sand Hill Road. Sand Hill Road is the venture capital mecca of the world. And it was sold out, being that in terms of scaling, there was 150 people that I was looking at as far as participants or attending the summit. And it sold out in about 5 weeks. And then the following summits from 2011 to 2019 have taken place at Stanford University. And during COVID, I postponed the summit 3 times because for me, the most important thing is looking after our community. I know during COVID, there was some events, at the height of it, that folks had some events. But for me personally, my wife right there works in public health department. And we just felt it was necessary to wait, to continue to postpone. And I never had a virtual summit because I feel that it's the experience that people need to interact, engage safely.
In person.
Yeah. So thank the Lord that the summit is going to take place in person October 8th in just about 5 months from now.
I love the concept of the summit because one of the things that I speak a lot, especially since we've had this platform, is Latinos having a place at the table.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sit there and say, well, what does that mean? Well, we, for the longest time, have been sitting in the back, just kind of watching everybody else slowly get a chair at this giant table of people who get to be influential for the decisions that we make in our community. And so for me, it's like the summit, even some of the different programs that are starting to come out are vitally important to be able to kind of slowly get, replace those chairs with people that represent our community. So major kudos to that. And for those who are trying to, establish at least a voice where they can kind of get a networking together, this leadership summit is going to be amazing. And you said it's what, October the 8th, you said?
October the 8th, yes. It's on a Saturday. And right now it's about 80% sold. So probably within another 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it's going to be sold out. And I will make an announcement of that. So there's still some tickets available, literally about 30 tickets available. And so, I know when I share this podcast, I'll share the link for folks who are interested to register for the summit. And one thing, Rafael, that you mentioned as far as being at the table and the dynamic and the mindset that is shaped within us at a very early age is the fact that you said that a lot of us sit in the back of the room. Well, it's been created at early ages in terms of equity and the disadvantages for many of us, which, for example, when I was a kid, I used to ride a school bus from East San Jose to Evergreen, which is the nicer area of San Jose on the east side of San Jose in California. And many of the chavalitos, we always went to the back of the bus, not because we wanted to, but I think that it felt like a safe zone. The back of the bus, the back of the classroom, a safe zone. And what we have to do today is not create that safe zone, make us feel uncomfortable. Let's go in the front and let's create this environment and mindset at the very early stages of our life, which is kindergarten to the 5th grade, sitting in the front, engagement. But the engagement and the responsibility and the accountability is set for the school boards to say, let's have Latinos and folks of kids of color in the front. Same
Yeah.
thing with school busing, because that is how we establish and create tables. We create the tables by being in the front of the line, in front of the bus, in front of the classroom, and that transformation is natural within the boardroom.
I agree. That's a huge concept for me. I've been kind of talking about it for probably about a year. And for me, it's really important, when we talk about we'll get into representation. When we dab into representation, there's a lot of argument as to whether they were represented well in the media and so forth. And I've been kind of a huge advocate for, if we're not going to be represented, let's make the media to be represented. Let's make our own media to be represented. I think one of the conversations you and I had on LinkedIn, I believe there was another program that Netflix was doing. I think it was Narcos,
Yes.
of some other kind. And I had mentioned a comment that I know was not very popular with my actor friends, which was, these specific concepts are going to keep coming out as, because Latinos keep choosing to act out these roles.
Yes.
And it's the only roles that are being provided to us. When I spoke to Bobby Gonzalez, it was the same, and he, from the Garcias, he had mentioned the same thing. All of the roles that were being provided to him were either some type of drug cartel or some type of, minority type position, whether it be this and that, roles that he just felt were not indicative of who he was as a Latino.
Yes.
Because that's not what represented him,
Yes.
so to speak. So I got a question for you. I mean, what do you feel is a good, where I stand on it. What do you feel is a good solution for that particular issue?
That's a great question. And I think it starts with producers and film directors to have integrity. And when I say have integrity, just don't chase the dollar, chase your passion and make your passion a reality. And what I mean by that is that the roles that we need to look at are STEM roles, filming STEM stories. Just yesterday, I posted the young lady Katia that will go into space in the fall. And, in just 5 days, I have over 1 million views on that post. And I think that, that is how we change the narrative, is by, not only creating the awareness, but having producers and film directors and money, where the money is, create passion projects, because passion projects is really what's changing our narrative. And if not, there's too many folks still within our community that will chase the dollar for a film based on the negative stereotypes and portrayal. See, the portrayal in terms of the profiling will continue within our community when Netflix and other these streaming platforms are putting the Narcos and these movies out there. And, just over the weekend, I just posted a great film that Adam Sandler did on Hustle. Hustle is an amazing basketball story. And I'm glad that, the main character is from Spain, from España, and he's with the Utah Jazz. But these stories are the stories that need to be produced. But see, Adam Sandler isn't Latino. So that's where I'm talking about, like the Eva Longorias or the Jennifer Lopez that have the platform, that have the voice in terms of producing and directing the films that are STEM related. Take the chance, because if we don't take the chance and we have the visibility and we have the platform, then guess what's going to happen? Hollywood is going to continue the narco films.
Take it over.
And it's up to us.
Yeah, they're just going to
It's up to us, because we have the numbers, just like my Golden State Warriors, strength in numbers back in the beginning of the dynasty. Well, we have a dynasty within our Latino community. We are strength, but putting the numbers together is, in terms of data and metrics, we could change it when we have folks at the top that galvanize us together and say, let's create positive roles for everyone to see.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest things for me is like, I don't know if you've seen, like, John Leguizamo is taking now Broadway
Yes.
and reshaping that.
Yes.
So, like, he just put out, what is it, Kiss My Aztecs, which I think is like the perfect title for
Well,
something
yeah,
that's on
that's
Broadway.
awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, he had his first one where he was basically giving everybody a history lesson about, how Latin America and the Caribbean, Tainos and the Aztecs and the Mayans, how we kind of evolved from that, based on almost extinction with everything that's taking place. And now he's kind of taking Broadway by storm by putting out the Latino message on there, where we're going into the indigenous roots and things like that. I wish that Hollywood would start, not specifically Hollywood. I'm going to say primarily like Netflix and a lot of the streaming services are the ones that do that. It's one of the reasons why I'm very, like, happy that HBO Max even took the Garcias. Because obviously HBO Max is always been known for real strong subjects of things that have nothing to do with family oriented, programming. And so I'm looking forward to what maybe the next coming years, now that you're starting to see a lot of Latinos making films that actually are relatable to, I guess, the wholesomeness of who we are.
Yeah, and
If that makes
exactly.
sense.
And we have to give a big thank you to Sal Trujillo as well. Sal Trujillo is
Yes.
is an icon, and he's a person who wrote the forward provided the forward for my book Latinx Business Success, and his heart is of gold. He really is a giving person for helping shape the narrative here in the U.S. So no, I agree. I think one of the things that you had mentioned about John Leguizamo, he also had another film that was on Netflix that really talks about history. But Rafael, history, as you walk through the halls of high schools and the curriculum, it's still based on old history. We need to
Yeah. Yeah.
have my book, for example, and I'm not trying to promote my book. I'm just saying, for example, book on these individuals that have done amazing work within their industry that happen to be
That said,
us.
he is trying to promote his book, so don't.
There you go.
He's like, I don't want to promote my book, but I just want to promote my book.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yes. I think, yeah, of course. Well, the thing is that why not? Why not? We have to challenge.
Yeah, of
Why not?
course.
We have to challenge school systems for sure.
So let's talk about the book. So you created Latinx Business Success, how Latinos, ingenuity, innovation, tenacity are driving some of the world's biggest companies. What inspired you to write the book, and how has the community received the message you intended for the book?
Excellent question. The book came to mind where a friend of mine, his name's Jesse Wiley. He's the chair of Wiley, and Wiley's a big publisher based out of New York and out of the East Coast, and they're my first publisher for my first book. But during the height of the pandemic, I had posted someone else's book, and Jesse reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, could we have a Zoom?" So we got on a call, and he's like, Frank, speaking of Es Tiempo, it's time. He says, have you thought of writing another book? And I said, I have. And I thought to myself that, my kids during this pandemic have access to Wi-Fi and no broadband issues, and they could log on to class. And I was thinking about the chavalitos in East San Jose or south of Chicago, or the Bronx, or whichever region throughout the U.S. that may not have access to Wi-Fi, that are struggling during this pandemic. What would I do if the pandemic hit during the 80s? Probably drop out of high school because of the lack of mentors and access to human capital. So what I know during that height of the pandemic, which was, 2 years ago, I figured I have access to individuals in various industries that could provide, resource, not only themselves as a resource, but strategies of what to do. And so I created a digital leadership framework. I proposed it to my editor during the time, and Wiley says, let's do it. And so that book, Latinx Business Success, was published within 18 months. I really had access to the individuals, and they shared their stories, and the stories that are shared today in my book are stories that really are about digital evolution, not a divide, but an evolutionary process. So I'm very excited that it's out, because what I say about circumstance and pandemic is we need to not only pivot, but we need progress. And so it really is a progression of a book.
Now you mentioned digital, so digital, which is essential to being a great leader. I think, what is it? Digital is decision making. The I is
Intelligence, yeah.
intelligence. I think G is
Game plan,
game plan.
and the I is inclusion.
Um, and, yeah, and then you have
Yep,
technology, and then I think it's abundance, and
that's
then
correct.
leverage.
Yes, that's correct.
What made you come up with the concept for that?
Well, decision making, executives, intelligence, our physicians, healthcare, the game plan, millennials and Generation Z, and then inclusion, folks in academia, nonprofit, technology, the technology leaders of the world that happen to be Latina, Latino, abundance, arts and media, and abundance of the films. It really brings life, and leverage with venture capital and entrepreneurs. The venture capital in terms of leverage came to mind because it is really about always not only having leverage but understanding the entire picture, the big picture. And so
Yeah,
that, in terms of an acronym and in terms of those principles, I really tied them in together as far as bringing folks in my network to each module and making sure that readers and folks out in our community could identify with not only each module, but say, I aspire, for example, to become the best entrepreneur. I aspire to really push the arts and media within, say, for example, STEM. And then the decision making, the folks at the table like Esther Aguilera, who's the CEO of the Latino Corporate Associations of Directors, for making sure that we have more Latinx on boards. And so for me, it really made sense to create a digital leadership framework, because digital is the new normal.
yeah, agreed. Yeah, I see that. I don't even think physical is going to be that big anymore. So I'm starting to see, especially with gas
Well,
prices. So we're basically,
what's funny about that is I had to drive my wife to work today because she has I drive the family van and she drives a Tesla, and with that, she didn't want to, because there's a new battery, but the battery has to be ordered through an app. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, we have so not only it's digital, but there's challenges with digital. So we really need the folks, as you had mentioned, in technology within the framework to really scale us up and help us along.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna pick on
Sure.
you a bit. I know you're a huge
Yes.
sports fan, specifically Bay Area
Yes.
teams. I mean, I see you all the time, whether it's the Niners or whether it's the Warriors. What do you think? I mean, do you guys have a do you guys think you guys are going to take the finals over here with Golden State Warriors? Because Boston's kind of giving you a run for your money.
Well, yeah, Jalen Brown, who went to UC Berkeley, a standout at UC Berkeley, it's going to be tough. I think tonight is a must win. It's a must win. I said it Friday. Friday was an elimination game, which it was, because 3-1 to Boston would have been almost impossible.
Yeah,
But tonight, I really feel that Draymond Green needs to have a big game, because Smart is going to be really, really on Curry tonight, and I just feel that we have to play with that intensity at the beginning. When I say intensity at the beginning, I hope that the Warriors, we could score 60 points at least in the first half, and would be
Yeah.
that would be great. And so I hope that we finish it off in 6 games, because going to 7, it is my birthday, and it would be, oh goodness, it would be a birthday that
I mean, that would be a
it
good
would be a
thing, though.
great thing. It would be a great thing.
I mean, if they
Yeah.
win,
Yeah, so
win,
so I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Warriors win. They definitely, but it's been. I'm already saying it's been. It's going to be.
it's been.
It's past. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. But I picked the Warriors to hold it up. But I'll tell you, with the Warriors, I am even a bigger 49er fan. I'm a diehard San Francisco.
Oh, I know that.
That's my
yeah,
team.
I've seen that. You were just on the
I
field. I
was.
think you were
I
for
was.
a picnic.
I was.
They had all of the trophies out there. It was really good.
Yes. And I'll share quickly before we end here that with the 49ers, the reason why I'm a bigger Niner fan than any other team and a diehard is because folks don't know this, but they know it now, that from the 4th to the 6th grade, I had a speech impediment. So I had a speech therapist, and I do public speaking for a living. And in the 6th grade, my speech therapist, Miss Sanders, God rest her soul, she was a diehard 49er fan. And I grew up in the barrio of East San Jose. So, never traveling outside of San Jose except for every summer to Compton.
Yeah.
I would go to Compton, and that's where I learned how to pop. And living in the barrio, Miss Sanders had this golden heart where she brought me a pennant from the first 49er Super Bowl in the Silverdome. And that pennant,
that's awesome.
pennant was a game changer in my life. And it told me that a person that attends a Super Bowl, what do they need? An education. What is the equalizer? An education. So at the end of the day, everything that reminds me of motivation are the 49ers. And it's that
cool.
simple. It is that simple. So today, I have to share this. One of my most proud moments, my most proud moment is being a dad and a husband, but my most proud moment in terms of, engagement with the community is helping bring the San Francisco 49ers to Santa Clara, which is a mile away from my home. I was part of a Measure J. Gavin Newsom was the mayor at the time, and they were going to move out of the San Francisco area. We fought to show them a site here in Santa Clara, and being part of Measure J, the Levi's Stadium was built. So 49ers right here.
Oh, right in the heart,
Yes.
right in the heart. Frank, if people wanted to follow you, where would they go?
So Frank Carbajal, Carbajal, my last name, and they could follow me on LinkedIn, or my Instagram is SV Latino Leadership, and I'm also same handle on Twitter. And then for
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
no,
There
and
you
the
go.
last thing, and then there's a Facebook page, Silicon Valley Latino Leadership Summit.
Oh, that's the one that I just became a part of. That was actually really cool. And I'll be attending on October the 8th.
right.
So for those of you guys who aren't attending, make sure you buy your tickets, because there's only 29 left.
Yes,
Because I'm taking one.
that's awesome.
So, Frank, it was absolutely amazing to speak with you. The book is Latinx Business Success. Make sure you guys can go get it. I believe it's on Amazon and all the available bookstores. I think even Walmart has it.
That's correct, yeah.
You can buy these at Walmart.
Like my mom, like my mom would be so proud. La Walmart. Mi hijo tiene su libro en la Walmart.
Yeah, right. At Walmart. Gotta say it with the Latino accent. Where? At Walmart. There's no T and there's no.
There's a K there.
So there's a K there somehow. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your accomplishments. It's actually a huge pleasure and honor to be able to have interviewed you today. and looking forward to being able to collaborate and be able to, empower Latino voices the way you have been doing, especially from the leadership role. So thank you very much.
Oh, no, again. Thank you. And last thing, I want to thank Anna, because when I listened to Anna's interview with you, Anna Valdez, I said, I have to be on Rafael's show. It was amazing.
Oh, I appreciate that. All right, guys, everybody, that is Conexión. Make sure you follow us at Todo Wafi pretty much on every social media platform. Go to the website, www.todowafi.com. Follow us on Instagram. And make sure to watch this interview on YouTube and on our podcast. And with that said, I'm Rafael, that is Frank, and we are out.